Hello again, everybody. This is Dale Padgett with V-Talk Atlanta on VMAG TV. I'm here in Atlanta at the home of Eric Matthews, member of the 1997 Super Bowl champion Green Bay Packers. How you doing today?
Doing pretty good.
All right, thanks for joining us. I'm doing great. Eric's been doing a lot of things here in the Atlanta area, and we've been lucky enough to kind of catch up with him and talk about some of the things that he's got going. He's got a sports company, and he also has a foundation, the Eric Matthews Youth Foundation. So before we get into that, we're just going to talk a little bit about, what you've done. A lot of times people look at athletes and they look at what they've done athletically, and they define them by that. But what you've done athletically is definitely not who you are.
No.
You know who you are. You're a husband, you're a father, and you are a mentor. You are someone who does great things. You're an icon in the community. So that's what we're going to focus on more. But just to give a little bit about your background, in going all the way back to high school, you were a member of the 1990 Super 11.
Yep. That's South Florida Super 11, the top 11 athletes coming out of South Florida.
Okay, and
yep.
that was for football.
That was
right?
for football.
Okay, and then you also did some things in high school with track and field.
Track was my first love, but see, a lot of people don't realize I only played 2 years of high school football.
Wow.
Yeah, because track was my first love. And, I got recruited because of football, because of track. Because I was a speed guy, and I could high jump, state high jumping. I was the first high school state champion in high jump.
You hold like 5 records.
5 records, yeah. Correct. High jump, long jump, 100, 200, and 4x1 relay.
Wow. And you only played 2 years of high school, but you still wound up with a full ride to Indiana?
Yes, people love that speed. When I got to Indiana, I left there, I was a 4.26 40 guy.
Wow.
So they love that speed.
Wow. So you played in Indiana, and you ran track?
I ran track also. Yeah.
Okay.
Like I said, track was my first love. That's something I always loved doing. Football, I loved doing it too. It was just track, I just enjoyed it. When I got to college, I was a bit, Penn State long jump champion at Penn State relays. Went to Big Ten championship a couple times and on relays and on high jump and long jump. So, track has always been there.
Wow. So then you do all these great things. You get all these awards in high school, do these great things in college. Then you get drafted as a free agent by the Green Bay Packers, and you win the Super Bowl your first year.
I know.
Wow.
I know. You can't add for nothing. I knew I was going to a great team because the year before that, there was in the championship, it was in the playoff that year before, and I wanted to go to a program that had a great quarterback and a great group of guys, wide receivers for me to learn, because I was still learning. Like I said, I was a track guy playing football,
right. So
I wanted to go somewhere I can learn. And I played behind Robert Brooks, Derek Mays, Don Beebe, Antonio Freeman.
Yeah,
you can't ask for a better wide receiver crew to learn behind.
Definitely can't. So you played with the Packers. You also played with the Redskins. And, Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah.
Then something happened. You had some injuries.
Yeah, a knee injury. I had tore my meniscus in my knee, and lost all my cartilage in between my kneecaps. So that's just bone on bone. Being a speed guy and a quick guy, them knees started messing up. I was I can get away real quick. I can go side to side, but having that injury kind of limit things. And
right.
A lot of people don't realize, young kids, you need to know things like this happen. As new players coming in every year, it's a business.
Right.
So that I was fortunate. I was one that got passed on. I went and played arena ball for 2 years after that, and I kind of got away, kind of didn't feel it no more. So I went back to my old high school and started coaching.
Right, went back to that first love.
Yep.
And all the things we've talked about before were more in the category of what you've done. But once you got to that point, would you say that kind of started defining who you are now? With working with the young people.
Yeah, and I start with NFL. I mean, as in programs, the NFL program, you work with kids a lot of time. Each program have a Boys and Girls Club or YMCA that they dedicate their time to. So when I was playing football, we got involved with a lot of stuff, and I enjoyed doing it then. So once I stopped playing, it was just something in my heart to keep on doing. Because I had parents that always kept us involved in stuff and just kept us doing things and stuff. So when I started coaching, I started seeing that it was needed even more.
Right.
I kept a track team of girls, about 30 girls. And out of those 30 girls, I probably had like 5 parents that showed up. So I seen that gap where these kids wasn't getting the mentoring and a lot of stuff. So that did in my heart of me to do more, not just the coaching.
Right. So you went back and you started coaching the girls track team.
Mm-hmm.
At your old high school, you were conference champion.
Conference champion six
6 years
times
in
in
a
a
row.
row.
And
Our coach of the year 6
coach
years in
of
a
the
row.
year 6 years in a row. Wow.
Yes.
So you just kind of your life kept going in that wonderful direction of just being award winning and just being an all around winner.
Yeah, when you have that, when I strive to do the best in everything I do, so and that's being one of my first love. I wanted to make sure I was doing it at my best, And I had a great group of girls that just gave me all. Mm-hmm.
Right. Awesome. So you moved to Atlanta when?
I moved to Atlanta in 2006.
2006.
Mm-hmm.
And is that when you started the EMAT?
Athletics. I started an athletic company when I first moved here because I was already doing it in Florida a little bit, training kids and stuff. And I figured Atlanta's a big area and it's a lot of athletes here, and then it's so spread it out. And I always lived on the west side. And I noticed, and I did a lot of training up in the north of Atlanta area, the Roswells and the Alpharettos and stuff like that. And I see how those areas up there had these kind of programs and stuff where these kids can get the training and the mentoring and stuff like that. So, and I noticed on this side of town, you didn't get it as much. Right. So I started getting more involved in the area around here and, and doing my company and stuff, training and stuff like that, offering these to these kids.
So tell me a little bit about the camps. You started utilizing the relationship that you built in the NFL.
Correct. And something that my athletic company does, we make it affordable for kids. You can go to some of these camps, some of these people put on you $200-300 for a day camp, and times like now you can't do that. Right. And like I say, my athletic company runs off my foundation too. Mm-hmm. We make things affordable. We make things reliable to families and stuff like that. Like the football camp I did in December, I had 9 NFL guys come out, charged $25 for it.
Wow.
Yeah, charged $25, and the parents loved it. They sent me so many testimonies like, when are you going to do the next one? We enjoyed it and everything. But that's kind of gratitude I get from it, seeing these kids and seeing parents appreciate what you bring to the community and stuff.
Right. And so a few years after that, or was it the next year you started?
Actually, 2 years after that, I started my foundation. We want to get more involved because I was jumping on everybody else's bandwagon, jumping on everybody else's foundation, doing stuff on their stuff. I was like, well, shoot, I'm doing the same thing. I have the same net, the people around me. Why don't I do my own thing, because this is what I love doing anyway, instead of just jumping on other people's stuff. And so I started Eric Matthews Youth Foundation, where it's just bridging that gap of getting our kids back outside, exposing them to different things. Just allowing, like taking them fishing. Right now, I guarantee it's about 90% of our inner city kids probably never been fishing.
Yeah.
Simple stuff like that, and then getting back to exercising, getting back outside. I grew up staying outside. Saturday you get up, you be going all day.
Yeah.
But nowadays you can't really trust your kids being out in the streets no more just because of the crime and it's just a crazy world now. You can't trust that no more. So we try to come in and take these kids on trips and kind of get them out and do things like that.
Right. So nowadays when we look at athletics, it's kind of, that's a good segue into my next question. You see a lot of athletes who seem to have it all. They get the big contracts and they are on top of the world in the eyes of most, most average people. But they find themselves in trouble, whether it's something dealing with drugs or, Michael Vick with the dog fighting, something dealing with allegations from females about inappropriate behavior, those type of things. What is it that you think, I understand that you have some thoughts on that we should start way back before these guys even get to college even, about where it starts to get these athletes prepared for that life.
Yeah, and this same question you asked me, I was asked on the Geraldo show. That's when the Ben Rosenberg was going through his things, and that he asked me, how can we get these athletes in this pro level and talk to them? And I told him, we can't talk to them on this level. These grown men making $1 million. What can you tell a grown man making $1 million? I say it takes for us to go back to the youth, the middle schools, and as coaches and youth coaches and high school coaches, talking to these kids and mentoring them about this. As athletes ourselves, when we start these foundations, that should be something that we try to teach these kids about the next level and how to treat yourself and how to watch your money, things to watch out for.
Right.
So it's a lot of football players that have foundations and stuff, and I know a lot of them who do things like this about mentoring and exposing kids to what can happen when you get to the next level and stuff like that. But it starts way down when they're youth, right. and I know in Florida where I'm from, it got bad where the youth football program, they got real bad to where you had gambling and all this stuff. So you have
the youth program.
Oh yeah, youth football is big down in Florida. But they had an episode on TV about this, about Florida youth football program, where these coaches and you got people coming in gambling and stuff. But it starts with you, because these kids start seeing it at that age. Guess what's gonna happen? It's gonna keep on trickling on up to high school and on to college. Right. So that's where it starts, at the youth. They learn it right there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's some great insight. Great insight. Back to your foundation. There's a program that you have through your foundation. Is it Toys and Coats?
Toys and Coats for Kids. I started that 4 years ago actually. Now it started out me just having a party with some friends, inviting them out because I was involved with Toys for Tots. And I had some friends out to bring some toys. We partied and they brought toys and I donated to Toys for Tots. Like I said, I'm a type of person I like have hands on. So I say, you know what, this turned out real well, and I'm gonna go ahead and start my own toy drive every year. So we started the Toys and Coats for Kids event, and it's been great ever since. The last 2 years we donated to Jose Feed the Homeless, and then this year past we just donated to Jericho, right off Campton Road over here. This church over here, they was like needing toys bad. But that's the type of stuff I do. And every year we done raised over a bit over 500 toys every year.
Awesome.
It's a great event, Red and Black Affair. A lot of celebrities come out, a lot of people come out, and it's real nice.
Tell me about the Red and Black Affair.
The Red and Black Affair is tied into my toy drive. It's my Toys and Coats for Tots for Kids on Red and Black Affair. Everybody come out in their red ties, red dresses, and everything, and just a nice evening. Every year I change a different venue, and just a nice evening for networking and people bringing toys and coats out.
Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. So are there any other things that you have on the horizon that you want to share with us right now?
Right now, we're in the process of trying to do this partnership with Clark Atlanta, where we'll do my foundation do a partnership with Clark Atlanta, where we'll come in and do some things over there without having to run around and trying to find venues to do our events. So one of the first ones is going to be me starting me a track club.
Back to that first love.
Starting me a track club. I believe track is a great sport to kids, can interact, gain friends, sportsmanship, and get to see the world. I love track so much. I got to travel with it. In high school, I went to Europe. I went to Spokane, Washington. I probably traveled more in my high school with track than I traveled in my life.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. And that stuff, you get exposed to so much with track. It's an individual sport, but then again, it's a team sport. Right. So you get to learn a lot. I believe that.
Right.
In track, you take that, everything else can branch off. Football, you guys who run, you got some kind of running and stuff. So it's good for a lot of sports.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, brother, it's been great talking to you. Good luck in everything that you're doing with
the
EMAT and with the Eric Matthews Youth Foundation. If you want to get more information on Eric Matthews Youth Foundation, you can reach them at ericmatthewsyouthfoundation.com, or you can look for a link on our station, www.vmagtv.com. So this is Dale Padgett with V-Talk Atlanta, signing off, everybody. V's up. We'll see you next time.
So, as a pro, where were you on draft day, and where were you when you got that call, or were you in New York? Where were you basically draft day?
Draft day, when I got ready to come out, I was in my apartment in college, and it was like sitting around, and I got a phone call around the third round. Green Bay called me and said that they were thinking about picking up in the fourth round. They had already told me that they was going to sign me as a free agent, which I was pretty good. Like I said, I was a track guy playing football, so me just to go in the draft would have been a bonus. But they ended up picking up Derek Mays, and they called me after the draft. Was like, we still want to sign. So I'm looking forward to it. So I was in my apartment with some friends, just sitting having dinner and eating around, just sitting around chilling in my apartment.
I mean, once you got signed as a free agent, what was the next step for you?
After the draft was over with, they called me up, set up everything, sent me the contract over, and told me when I need to report. Once got all that information, pretty much it was right after school was over with. So time school was out, I didn't go back home. I ended up flying to Green Bay and having all my stuff shipped to Green Bay.
going back to as a grown an adult athlete that's now, let's say, in trouble, whether it be financially, child support, marriage, or what have you. And you talked about earlier how that seed is actually planted before they get to where they are. Now it's kind of like this is built up inside of them for years. So at the draft day or before draft day, what around you professionally did you have, professionally and non-professionally, to help you, let's say, stay focused? Because one, do you recommend an athlete coming out of college, getting prepared for the draft, to have like a lawyer and an agent, and let's say a PR person, or is it all three or more, or what is it?
It's more, and first, it's friends.
Okay.
I surrounded myself with good people, good friends, people who was trying to do the same thing I was trying to do and stay on the same path. And a lot of my friends in college, I still stay in touch with today. And when I got ready to get drafted, I had guys that was already drafted. Thomas Lewis, who was first round draft pick from Indiana, who went, he came back and he was actually at my apartment, was sitting with chilling with me. And that was a great person to have around because he was business minds and he was a smart guy. He, told me about, since he was already in there for 2 years, he told me about, things to watch out for. So I think too, and that's something in society with our kids, surrounding yourself with good people. Don't surround yourself with bad people, because guess what? You're going to fall into that same trap they're probably doing. So I had surrounded myself with good people. And then like my parents, I had good parents that always, stayed in touch with me, made sure I was doing the right thing and stuff like that. And then my agent, who fell in there, who, made sure our contract was right and how I spent my money too.
Because that's the question always stems from too. Now, listen to some athletes say, well, the agent stole from them, their manager stole from them, their PR person stole from them. And again, listening to what you're saying, and some of them have done that, like say their parents and their friends, around them, good-hearted people, but not necessarily good business-minded people.
And one thing I would say about them athletes who say the agent stole from them, one, I never let my agent control my money. One, they should have been controlling their own money. I don't never trust nobody else with my money. He told me what I should do and stuff like that. But once you start letting outside people control your money, anything can happen. And that's smart business sense, And then you still hear that today, how even not with just athletes, but stars and everything else, But yeah, not letting nobody else control your money. I know how to count from 1 to 100, Right. Counting is one thing you learn in school.
Because my argument is, and even though it's sort of like an interview, it's sort of like we're discussing too. My argument or my outlook is, let's use somebody like a Beyonce. How Beyonce is you see all these different people around her, all these different shows she's doing, concerts, and a lot of times, in my thought, she's not aware of a situation she may be put in. She may have simple knowledge of it, but not necessarily knowing the effects of it. Because it may be that PR person say, well, hey, if you do this, this is gonna, you're gonna reach much more people, make much more money, much more advertisement, but not necessarily knowing how that affects her as an individual.
Yeah.
So,
I have a couple of friends that's in that industry that makes a lot of money,
right.
And we talked about this where they don't give them control. Any money that's going out, they have to sign for it. And they still have control of their money. Say if Beyonce was on the road and her manager needed something, they wouldn't able to get it until she signed off on it and stuff. And I guess you get these athletes and singers or whatever, they don't know what's been going out. They didn't do that. They didn't have where I need to see whatever's going out first. Yeah, you might get too busy, but hey, don't get too busy to know where your money's at. Yeah.
Okay. And I guess going back to one of your first loves, and again, still sticking with sports. You said when you was at college, you ran like a 4.26. Okay. It's documented that NFL, the top 3 NFL players that I know as far as speed-wise, was like Bo Jackson ran a 4.12 at the combine. Deion Sanders ran a 4.15. Dale Green ran a 4.15, I guess, in a track meet. Deion ran a 4.17. Putting those 3 on the tracks, not including you, but putting those 3 on the tracks, who do you believe will win that race? 100-yard dash. And
know what? And you can put me on there. I'm gonna tell you why. You can never until that day they get put on that line together. You'll never know. Because everybody runs different. And when you get on a company, I was the type of person this happened to me in high school. I was running against one of the top 100 guys in the state of Florida. I ended up beating him. He was running 10 threes. I was running 10 fours. Beat him because when I get in that situation where I got to run against somebody, I'm gonna compete. I'm gonna compete. So putting them guys on the line, I wouldn't pick nobody until I saw it that day. Because you're going off of just about somebody's clock or whatever like that. You don't know until they meet up and run. So until this day, we'll never know.
Did you ever play against one of them? Did you ever play against either one of them?
But I'm going to tell you somebody who should have been in that line? Don BB. I saw him run. Yeah. And he's fast. To this day, I saw Don BB run, and he was legit. Like, again, until you put them guys on the line together, you'll never know.
And that's what we call, from my standpoint, what we call, I like to call when I'm talking sports, of that old saying that we had back in the country, where when that dog is chasing you, you don't really know how fast you can run. And even for guys that are, let's say, when I played ball, guys that on the track, they were faster. But when you put them in a game and in certain situations, so other guys may have been faster on the field because of that, again, that dog mentality.
Football is not a fast sport. It's a quick sport. Them first steps and everything. You got to figure it's 100 yards, and a lot of the game is pretty much played in 10 to 15 yards.
Right.
And that's that quickness. I can honestly say I had both of them. When I was at Green Bay, we used to do film work. A lot of the football defensive guys, they used to call me the Gnat because I'd be all over the field everywhere and everything because I can go side to side just fast. I can go straight. So that football speed is a totally different thing too. Yep.
Now the other thing is, as far as youth football and youth track and just youth in a period, whether it be, let's say, junior high, middle school, college, and even up to pro, what would you suggest as far as developing one's skill? Because sometimes I see certain players or certain children get stagnated in a certain position because of their weight or their height, whether too tall, too small, too big, too wide, just too strong or too weak. What would you recommend in developing that?
One thing I recommend is, I've actually been seeing it a lot. My nephew played youth football up here, and I saw to where they wasn't getting taught the fundamentals. And that youth level, coaches need to be teaching that fundamental. You get to some of them who want to just win, and which they don't understand. These are these kids' important years right here, the youth level, because once you start getting to high school, you're getting thrown into it. It's like the youth level is so important. Teaching the fundamental. If you're playing running back, teach them how to get the ball. Teach them how to pick holes. Their wide receiver, teach them how to get their hands together. And I watch a lot of them too. They can't run. Because now, think about it. Kids not getting outside anymore like we used to be, just getting out. And we learn our agility and stuff came with just playing in the streets and walking trees, climbing trees, and all that stuff. We learned a lot of that stuff and just playing on the weekends. And a lot of kids don't do it anymore, so you can see it on a lower level where their fundamentals are off. So I believe in teaching fundamentals, teach them how to run. Teach them how to run a straight line, And the youth coaches kind of getting away with that a little bit. They're not, pushing that a lot, teaching that fundamental.
And I guess the last one that we'll probably end up with, in the game of football, on each side of there's offense and a defense, an X and an O, O and an X rather. There are 11 players on each side. How, from what you've analyzed or through your lifestyle, do you see, and how's it in affecting to your lifestyle, those 11 players, different positions, come together as a unit? How does one, as a family or as a youth, as a community, how do you apply those 11 players into life, those 11 positions?
And when you get to that, especially from the professional level, those 11 guys are your family. And I can even go back to college where I tell the kids now, these guys I made, play football in college, they're like brothers to me now, because especially on the college level, we go to lunch together, we go to class, we practice together, and they become like a family atmosphere. And in that professional level, them 11 guys, me on offense, if one person broke down, that's just like in the household. The household, your father who's carrying his household, if he lost his job or whatever, that household will, kind of crumble a little bit. But you hopefully that wife or whatever can abstain that household until that father, got himself back together. That goes back on the field too, where say your center, he's hurting. Guess what? That nose guard gonna kill him every time. But if he's hurting, guess what? That tackle maybe can come over and help until he can get himself right, blocking wise. So that team commodity is very like a family. If one person breaks down, that whole team breaks down.
Well, I said one last thing, but when you talk, it brought up something else. We don't want to keep you too long. The going back sort of to the corruption of sports, particularly sticking with football. We look at the quote unquote allegations that they attempted to put on like Cam Newton and his father. I remember back in the early '90s, there was a movie out called, I think it was The Program, about football, the corruption of college football.
Yeah.
But when I watched that movie, it's like I was looking through a mirror. Because in high school, I went through almost the exact same thing, even to the point where they got laid in the road with cards passed. Yeah, we did that too. So, it's stupid, but we did that too. So, in efforts to block corruption, particularly like this, say the paying of athletes, because believe it or not, I got paid too. Not hundreds of millions of dollars, you know, but there's something waiting for me either Friday night or Saturday morning that I had to go pick up. How would you say you block something like that, or is it particularly for an individual standpoint, is someone that you can affect? What would you tell someone that if you're a star athlete, alumni, somebody walks up to you and just gives you a handshake of a few dollars or envelope? What would you tell somebody that receives that?
And us telling athletes not to do that and stuff, it's going to be hard. It's going to be very hard. I had this discussion with some other players and stuff. It's going to be very hard just because you got to look at, we get these free rides to school and stuff like that, but that's for your education. We're not getting any money for, I want to go out to eat or whatever on the weekend and stuff. That's not going to help you there, and it's just going to be hard because it's millions of dollars being made in college football, and the athletes are not seeing none of it. And like I said, you are just in school, you have needs too, or just want to go buy some new clothes or whatever like that. And you hear that all the time. Even with the guy, he sold his jersey, and he got in trouble. He wanted to sell his jersey. He didn't want. He wanted to go buy some other clothes. Honestly, with me, it's gonna be very hard to stop it, because what young kid, if somebody come up and say, "Hey, here you go, $100 for doing good," it's gonna be he gonna think about it, and it's gonna be hard. I wouldn't say you can do it, but I was one of those guys. Fortunately, I was one of those guys. I had parents that supported me and stuff, so I didn't have to step out there and take bribes and stuff like that. So my mom was always, "You all right? You need anything?" and stuff like that. So I had parents that supported me and made sure that I didn't have to go outside and do stuff that was wrong way. But you have a lot of guys in football that's single families, mothers only and stuff, who's home right now struggling and stuff, and ain't getting no money from home. Like I say, a scholarship is only paying for your books and your education. It's not paying for you to get nothing else. So where else can you get it from?
It's real talk.
And you can't work.
Right.
You can't work.
So one of the solutions I've heard mentioned is if you give a percentage of let's say, the sales, jersey sales, paraphernalia sales, to the athletes or the program itself, the individual program or individual athletes themselves, may be the solution. If you did that, what's the pros and cons of that? Meaning, giving a percentage of the sales.
You have all the other sports, soccer, baseball, tennis, and tennis don't bring in no money. Football do. So how are you gonna? But these still athletes in the school. So how can you say? So it's gonna come to where it's just gonna have to be a percentage all the way across the board to what you're gonna a per diem or something. Each athlete will get maybe $100 a week. So it's gonna have to come to something like that where it's not gonna be where football get more and tennis get less, because then you'll run into another problem, So it's going to be where they're going to be a percentage all the way across the board. But then again, you run into a Division II school or a Division I school that's not making no money, and they not getting anything. But this school over here in the same division, but they're bringing in more money. It's going to be very hard.
But would you not say that would kind of preparing for life? It's like, okay, if you work at this company,
yeah,
you make this salary.
And we say that too.
If you work at this company, you make this salary. So would it not be fair to say, okay, depending on what school you are and what the program brings in, if you're a golfer on the college golf team, you make this because it doesn't bring in anything.
Yeah.
You get your money later. But if you play football, that's your occupation for that moment.
And I agree with that, but then you come back to, okay, this golfer saying, oh, they getting all this money and all this, so I'm going to go do something else to get this money. Then now you're going to have golf where you got tempered golf and stuff like that because the football get more. But I think Division I sports, period, for a university, it should be a set per diem across the board for all the athletics. And like you said, Division I, if you're Division II, it might be a lot less because it's Division II. But for Division I schools, athletics, it'll be a percentage that is all the way across the board for all athletics. I believe in that because they making millions.
A quick, this is just real quick, just like one word answer kind of thing. Greatest NFL player you've ever played against or that you've seen?
Barry Sanders.
Why?
To this day. Quick guy, I mean, decision making on the field, I mean, split decisions, and just a great athlete, man. I hated to see when he quit just because he was trying to get out of there, out of what you call him. I just hated that. But to this day, I grew up liking, I mean, just a great athlete, being so small and, oh man, I can't say a whole bunch about it. He just bad.
So have you looked at Barry Jr.?
I heard about. I heard he's bad.
Yeah.
I haven't really caught him yet.
Greatest quarterback?
Brett Favre,
Receiver?
Jerry Rice.
Outside of yourself.
Huh?
Outside of yourself. So I'm assuming running back would be Barry Sanders?
Yeah.
Offensive lineman?
Offensive lineman. I would say Mark Chamore was a tight end, but he was one of the best blockers too on that Packers team.
Defensive line?
Dotson, Santana Dotson.
Linebacker?
I'll say Clay Matthews right now.
Defensive back?
Defensive back. Dion.
Oh, go back to linebacker then.
Oh, we go back to linebacker. I'm looking at Ray Lewis.
Okay, I guess my one last thing. We always talk about, the national championship and the multiple national championship. We talk about the different states: Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Texas, California, all those. Take the '80s Hurricanes against either the '90s or either the 2000 version of the Crimson Tide. Who wins?
Hurricanes. Just a whole nother attitude. Them guys came to play. They was headhunters. That was like ruthless football then. They still kind of get it, but that Canes defense back then, that defense was like, oof. I mean, that was just an all-around team, was just ruthless, man. They were bringing it. And you don't see as much no more. And I can say that team then, I can say, and everybody talk about that, how you'll probably never see another Canes team like that ever again.
Yeah.
You'll never see nothing like that ever again.
I got to agree with you on that. All right, one last thing. If you could just look like right about here, just look into the camera and just any young person out there that got all these gifts and abilities, they might be in middle school, junior high, maybe even in the youth leagues. They have all these gifts and abilities, but they're faced with a lot of challenges. I know you probably see this a lot with your foundation. Just, in the same way that you would tell the kids that you work with, daily, say something to these young people, these young athletes that are faced with these challenges about life and making the right decisions and what it means to be an athlete and, the integrity involved in those type of things.
One thing I would say to these young athletes today, respect yourself first and respect the people around you. Always know somebody's watching you. Do right, and if you're an athlete with great abilities and stuff like that, don't think you're the best right now because there's somebody out there who's always better. Work hard. That's one thing I did. Worked hard every day. And don't never let nobody say you can't. You hear that all the time, but it's true. Because when you start letting people say you can't, you'll start believing in that. So work hard, respect your elder, respect yourself first. Because if you don't, nobody else will.